Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi ala ni'matul islami wa kafa biha ni'mah. All praise and gratitude be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on His blessing of Islam, which suffices as a blessing. So I'd like to welcome you on the 27th para, which we begin today. We are at Surah Zariyat. We are going to start with ayat number 31. Zariyat literally means the one who spreads or the one who scatters. And we are looking at the story of the angels going to the people of Lut, and they stop by with Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, and then there's a conversation that's going on. So, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qala fama khadbukum ayyuhal mursalun. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, He said to the angels, then what is your mission, O messengers? They said, surely we are sent to a guilty people. Now, people of Lut were known, their sin was known, so well known that the angels didn't even take their names, and Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam understood who these angels were referring to. So that we may send down upon them stones of clay marked by your Rabb for the transgressors. Every stone was marked, it was assigned, it was destined to strike these people who had exceeded the limits, and they were a real deviant people, right? That's the first time we see the mention of the LBGTQs in the early part of history. So we took out the believers who were there. We did not find in it even one house of Muslims. Now you can see that not even one house of people who were obedient. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was a person of kind nature, and he had actually tried to convince these angels not to bring azab on these people. But the fact is that Allah makes it very clear that the entire community was involved in this sinful and shameful act. You know, when some sinful and shameful act becomes part of the life, it's no longer even regarded as a sin, as we see now what is taking place for the LGBTQs. And we left in it a sign for those who fear the pain of punishment. So the ruins of these people of Sodom and Amorah are visible for people to take ibrat, and so people can actually see that what a painful punishment they went through. Next is the story of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam and the two miracles that he showed in the court of Pharaoh. And in the story of Moses, when we sent him to Pharaoh with clear authority, so he turned away along with his forces and said, Musa is a magician or a madman. So here is Hazrat Musa alayhi salam coming to the court of Pharaoh, showing him the miracles, and Pharaoh didn't want to accept. Hence, he immediately gave his opinion. He gave his fatwa even without thinking it through, because his power and position stopped him from accepting Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. Despite the fact that he saw manifest miracles, he knew this is the truth. Yet, because of his power and his position, and that stopped him from accepting. So we seized him and his army and cast them into the sea, as he was blameworthy. So Pharaoh remained adamant, and finally when there was no hope left for his correction, then as any other nation, he was also destroyed by Allah. And in Ad we sent upon them wind that was barren. So a very short reminder of the nations which were destroyed, and this is the central theme of this Surah Zariyat, and so we now talk of Ad. It spared nothing it came upon, but rendered it like stuff smashed by decay. So nations destroyed by the wind, which was the people of Ad, and the wind, a wind which had no blessing in it. Whatever it passed upon, it just crumpled and reduced it to dust. And in Samud, when it was said to them, enjoy yourself for a while. So reminder of Samud, the whole story is not narrated over here. We have seen the story come a number of times. Here just the end, that after they had killed the she-camel, of which Hazrat Salih alayhi salam had warned them, he announced that now you have 3 days before the arrival of the great azab. Then they rebelled against the command of their Rabb, so the thunderbolt seized them while they were looking on. So literally they saw the azab coming while they were looking on, Quran says. They saw the azab. And this is quite amazing. You know, with simple and seemingly benign forces of nature, Allah can actually use these forces which are so benign and so useful, right? And He can destroy nations, like with sound, with wind, with water, and all these nations were destroyed with these forces. Then they were neither able to stand nor they could defend themselves. So they were proud of their power, but nothing could save them. Not their power, their might couldn't save their secure homes which were cut in mountain, that couldn't save them. Now to oppose Allah, and anyone who opposes Allah, he is taking a path of sure destruction. And the people of Nuh before, indeed, they were a sinful people. So earlier nation of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam, which was destroyed. Now the rule is very simple. The rule is whoever does not believe in Allah and opposes him, he is on the wrong path. He's chosen a path of nothing but destruction. And the sky was built by us with might, and indeed we are expanding it. What an amazing ayat, right? The expansion of the universe is given over here, a phenomena that modern man didn't know till the 19th century, that the galaxies and the stars are not just created, but they are expanding. And this is what the conclusion science has reached to today, that this whole entire universe came into existence through a phenomena of explosion called the Big Bang. At point zero, there was a point, and that point exploded. And exploded, and all the matter was scattered in this universe, and that's why this universe is expanding, something that Quran mentioned 1442 years before. And the earth was spread out by us as a floor, and how well we have spread it out, and from everything we created pairs of two, so that you may reflect. Now think about it. Quran says for everything we have created pairs, and now we have learned plants have pairs, animals have pair, human have pair. Everything has North Pole and South Pole. Everything has a pair. Creation of all living things in pair. And what is a pair? Pair is a thing which actually resemble each other, two things that resemble each other. They are similar but not the same. They have some kind of slight difference between these two, but they complement each other, that they are incomplete without each other. And together they serve a purpose, like man and woman, a pair. They are different, they complement each other. They resemble each other, but they are different also. The pair of this world is what? The pair of this world is the hereafter. Because without hereafter, this world is an incomplete place. So flee to Allah. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Indeed, I am a plain warner to you from Him. Flee to Him, run to Him with enthusiasm, right? Run to Him with love, like you really love someone and you run to that person, right? And run to Him to seek paradise. From freeing oneself from hell, run towards Allah. If He is pleased with you, run to Him. If He is displeased with you, run to Him in any state of happiness, be run too close to Him, or in state of gloom. Praying to Him and running to Him like a child runs towards his mother, irrespective whether she is happy or is not happy, is unhappy. And do not make upon other gods along with Allah. Indeed, I am a plain warner to you from Him. In similar way, no messenger came to those before them, but they said, He is a magician or one possessed. Have they passed this down to each other as a legacy? Rather, they are a rebellious people. Why were the prophets called Majnun? Because the prophets were called Majnun because to make Allah Razi, they would be indifferent to worldly gains. People say this is only a madman can leave this worldly gain for the sake of Allah. In the eyes of people, this was nothing but short of madness. So turn away from them, for you are not to be blamed. And keep reminding, because the reminding benefits the believers. Who this reminder benefits? The zikra, this Quran benefits those who accept Quran. Only for them this is a reminder. For those who do not believe in it, no matter what warning is, well, such people will not take the warning because they have no faith in this book. It often happens that when we read an ayah, when we read, this is the amazing thing about this Quran. We read one ayah and we read it many times, but it never becomes stale. The same ayah, there's a new message every time you are reciting, every time you're thinking about it. It seems like, nothing unusual at some point in time. Well, this is just a common thing this ayah is telling us. And then suddenly the same ayah provides us a solution of a very complex problem that had been going on in our mind for a long time. And suddenly this ayah comes in your mind, and then the unanswered questions get answered. And I think this is a real distinguishing feature about a moment. And the real distinguishing feature is that when he reads the Quran, it increases his faith and it helps him come close to the Creator, the one who sent this book. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا. And I did not create the jinn and the human except for the purpose that they should worship me. Purpose of creation. We don't know the purpose of creation, why Allah created this entire universe, why He created us. But what man needs to know is that this ayah we need to do. We did not create men except for the purpose that they should worship. It's for the ibadat of Allah. Now, when we think about ibadat, ibadat is not just prayers. Ibadat is not just fasting. It's not just reading Quran, reciting Quran. Even in business is also an ibadat. Trading is also an ibadat. Farming is also an ibadat. Art is also an ibadat. Everything is ibadat, as long as it is within the injunctions of Quran and the injunctions of Allah and His Messenger. Like a person who leaves his home to earn a halal income so that he can fulfill the responsibilities of his family, he is in a state of ibadat. A trader is in a state of ibadat as long as he is trading honestly. People who are helping other people, being kind to people, even smiling at their parents, this too is an ibadat. I mean, in a hadith it says that smiling at your parents has a reward of a Maqbool Hajj. I do not desire any sustenance from them, nor do I want them to feed me. Allah has not placed the responsibility of risk on man. We don't feed Allah. We don't give Him any sustenance. On the other hand, the idol worshippers would put food for their gods. They put food for their God. I mean, if their God cannot even get food. So this is what this Quran ayat is referring. That if you feed these gods, right? You put all the foods in front of them. Whereas Allah is the one who is actually giving you all the sustenance. In fact, Allah is the all-sustainer, possessor of power, the strong. Surely those who are unjust will have a portion like the portion of their companions. So they should not ask me to hasten it on. Allah is not taking the disbelievers to task. It doesn't really mean that He cannot seize them. He's just giving them rope. He's just giving them time. He's giving them time so that they can amend and they can correct themselves. Woe then to those who disbelieve because of their day which they are threatened with. So this is like a kind of final warning of a very dreadful end. Now we begin with Surah Tur, and Surah Tur is an early Makkan surah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. What Tur? By the Mount Tur. So here Allah is taking certain promises. This is qasam, the vow that is used over here. By the Mount Tur, the mountain on which trees grow. Mount Tur is a mountain on which trees grow. And here the reference is to Tur Sina, which is a mountain in the Sinai Peninsula where Hazrat Musa alayhi salam was given the 10 Commandments. Wa kitabim mastur, and by a book written. Now scholars have varied views as to what book is being referred over here, this Kitab al-Mastur. Maybe it's referring to the Lawh-e-Mahfuz where the original Quran is kept, right? Or it is maybe it's referring to this Quran, or maybe it's referring to the Torah, the earlier books that were there. All these books are, different scholars have different view. On an unrolled scroll, before the invention of paper books written now, the Quran and other books would be written on thin skins so that they can be preserved for a long period of time. And by the populated house, which is Baytul Ma'mur, the word used over here. Which house is being referred? Again, we find many opinions. Maybe it's referred to Kaaba because it's a house which is frequently visited by people. It's a house which is populated. People frequently go there. Some ulama say that this is a reference to the house above Kaaba. So above Kaaba is another house of Allah, a similar house which is called Baytul Ma'mur. And Baytul Ma'mur is really a house, like we go to Kaaba and we go do tawaf. It's a house. Baytul Ma'mur is a place where the angels enter for their ibadat. And there's such a large number that one angel who comes in over there, he'll not have a chance to go back again. There's so many in line. And by the canopy raised high, and by the sea flared up. So some scholars have given, again, different interpretation to these ayahs. Like the earth, earth's surface, there are many creatures, as we see many creatures. Same as in ocean, we know there's a whole life that's inside the ocean. And on the day of judgment, the seas will be filled with flame. And by the seas, flared up. So the sea is full of flame, and maybe because of the volcanic activity that goes under the sea, a day will come when these volcanoes will burst, and the entire sea, the earth will throw out its burning lava, and the fire that's inside the belly of this earth and the sea will, instead of water, will be full of fire. The punishment of your Rabb is sure to fall, and there is nothing to push it back. So things that protect people, like the sky, the protecting canopy, on some nations the azab came down from the sky. The sea which supports life, in the same sea Pharaoh was drowned. People were drowned. People of Nuh were destroyed by the same water, which is the source of life. So those people who are heedless of the book of Allah, such is going to be their end. The day when the sky will tremble, a horrible trembling, meaning this ayat is really telling the Arabic word, mean it will spin and it will shake. It will go forward, it will go backward. And this is the way reality will be. And the mountains will be moving with a terrible movement. Can you imagine? Can you imagine looking at K2 just flying by our eyes, going past our eyes, which must be an awesome sight and really a shocking sight. So woe on that day to those who reject. After all these promises, this is the punchline. Woe on that day to those who reject. Those people who have not prepared for that day, now they will be in extreme worry. They will be in deep anxiety. The point is that the one who does not have firm belief, he is bound to be careless. He is bound to be careless as far as his actions are concerned. They waste away. Life gets wasted away in useless pursuits. The belief that this day is going to come, there will be a hereafter, is so important to correct our deeds and know what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. Who playfully indulge in vain discourse, never serious about Qiyamah, never serious about Day of Judgment. This is something unimportant. As a result, the concept of hereafter never impacted their deeds. This whole idea about Qiyamah, about the Day of Judgment, about the horrors of that day is so that it impacts our deeds. The day they will be pushed into the fire of hell with a violent pushing. This is a fire you used to deny. Is it then magic, or do you not see? Now people will be questioned. It's almost like adding insult to the injury. How would you deny? How did you reject the prophets? Enter it now, whether you endure it patiently or you do not bear it patiently. It is the same for you. You will be paid back for what you used to do. As long as people are alive in this world, sabr has great value. Sabr has great reward. You could purchase a very high position in paradise. After death, this offer expires. Now, whether people are patient or whether they are impatient, it's equal. This time to earn the hereafter is a check, but it's a time-barred check. The day we leave this world, the day that check is expired. Surely the God-fearing will be in the gardens and bliss, rejoicing what their Rabb has given them, and their Rabb saved them from the punishment of hell. Zikr of two nemats that being described over here. First nemat that Allah, the mercy of Allah on these people will be that they will be saved from hell, and that's the greatest nemat, right? That is a fawzul azim. So that's a real success. And the second nemat would be that they would be sent into paradise. So first being saved from the punishment, and then second nemat being sent into the paradise. It will be said to them, eat and drink with pleasure because of what you used to do. It's all about amal. It's a reward of amal. Maybe in this world they just satisfy their needs. There are lots of desires that we have. We don't fulfill every want that we have. But then on that day, in paradise, then people will have absolute gratification with relaxation and with great enjoyment. Relaxing on the lined up coaches, we will marry them to the wide eyes hoods. Wide eyes. Wide eye is a sign of beauty. Even now in China, they want, every Chinese woman, or most of the Chinese women want to get plastic surgery so that they can widen their eyes, because it's always, worldwide it is considered to be a sign of beauty. Now anywhere, even in paradise, when people will enter, companionship is important. If one is alone, not much enjoyment without a companion, right? So Quran says, we will marry them. Because there is a great pleasure in married life, right? Shaitan puts these ideas inside us that if we make illicit affairs, it's very attractive, that relationship is very attractive. But quite honestly, there's no sukoon in such affairs. There's no sukoon in any illicit relationship. And those who believed and their offsprings who followed them in faith, we will unite them with their offsprings and will not curtail the reward of any of their deeds at all. Every person will be pledged for what he has earned. As long as our destination is the same, there's a chance of an upgrade. That is, if the parents have a seat in first class on way to paradise. They have a seat in first class, while the children are also traveling in the same flight, but they have a ticket to paradise. They too can be upgraded if they are traveling from traveling in the economy class. However, if the destinations are different, if the flights are different, then no upgrade will be possible. No upgrade can really help because the destinations are different. And we will go on giving them whatever their desires of fruits and meats, so the best food and the best drinks. They will snatch from one another in a friendly manner a cup carrying neither absurd talk nor something leading to sin. Circulating among them will be their own serving boys like hidden pearls. There is so much luxury in being served. The sit-down meals are always considered to be more priced, right? Because the aesthetic sense of man has been even kept in paradise. They want to be served. And who will be serving them? They will be served by young boys serving boys like hidden pearls. They will be pure, they will be clean, they will be like the sparkling pearls. And some of them will turn towards the others inquiring. Now, even in paradise, people will not forget what they did in this world. They will recognize one another. They will ask people, how did you reach here? What difficulties did you face? What obstacle did you have to overcome? They will say, indeed, we were afraid when we were in the midst of our families. So when these people were there in their families, they say, we were really concerned about the well-being and the good end. They were alert, they were conscious, they were careful that even their love for their families does not exceed such a limit, the limits that have been set by Allah. They didn't want to exceed the boundaries. In making the world for their families, they end up destroying their hereafter. And they were very cautious and careful about that. But Allah has been gracious to us and saved us from the punishment of the scorching wind. They will say, this is a great ihsan of Allah, that He protected us. You can see that another quality that is there for people of paradise is that they are humble people. They may have been very righteous, but humility is part of their nature. Surely we will call upon Him before. He was surely most kind and merciful. So they called upon Allah in difficulty, they called upon Allah in ease, in good time and not so good time. And main aim of their life, their entire life, was seeking the good pleasure of Allah. So keep reminding them, because by the grace of your Rabb, you are neither a soothsayer nor a madman. So Quran says, keep reminding people. Remind them through this Quran. This is a book of reminding people. Kuffar would call our Prophet ﷺ a soothsayer, or that some jinn has possessed him, because they just wanted to kind of brush him aside, right? They said, oh, we are very sympathetic with you. I think you are not well. Some jinn has possessed you, and we want to get you treated. Just wanted kind of a sympathy, just wanted to push him on the side. Or do they say a poet, we are waiting for him calamity of death. So, the disbelievers called our Prophet ﷺ a poet. All the poetry takes people to the dream world. There's so much exaggeration in poetry. On the other hand, if you look at Quran brings people to facts. Poetry doesn't change people. Poetry sometimes just creates huge amount of emotional upheavals. Whereas the personality of that Quran builds is a personality of maturity. It's a personality of wisdom. So wait, for surely I am waiting with you. This is not just like waiting, it's like a warning. Everything will soon become clear. Is it intellect that you direct them to say this, or are they rebellious people? Quran is saying, you're degrading our Prophet ﷺ. You're degrading the Muslim. You're calling names. This is not even should be supported by your intellect, because people were doing this and degrading our Prophet out of sheer zid, out of sheer stubbornness. They were really stubborn people. Or do they say he has forged it? Actually, they do not believe. They say that this kalam, the kuffar would say this kalam is not created by a person. The real issue is not that they don't want to believe. They wanted to reduce the maqam of Quran by calling it a kalam of a person, so that they have a kind of a justification in not following it. If they called it a kalam from Allah, they know that they need to follow it. But just to satisfy their own conscience, they justify and say, this is not a kalam, this is a kalam of a person, not a kalam of Allah. So let them bring a discourse like this if they are truthful. Again, an open challenge by Quran. Bring a kalam like this. The system that Quran has given has no match. It removes exploitation, it removes immorality, it removes corruption. People have tried all sorts of models. All these models have been tried in this world. The capitalistic model, the socialistic model, the Japanese model, I don't know what model. Try the Islamic model also. Try the Islamic model. It may be much more beneficial. Is it that they are created of nothing, or are they themselves the creator? Or have they created the heavens and the earth? Actually, they have no conviction. The answer is simple. Answer to who made you? Who made you? Has to be a creator. You get an exquisite machinery in front of you and someone brings it and you say, oh, this is really a phenomenal machine. Who made it? And the person said, nobody made it. It came into existence on its own. What would you think of such a person? He must be out of his mind. How can a machine be created on its own? Even a die-hard atheist cannot claim that I was created by my own self. Why then reject? Why then reject? The reason people reject is because they don't want to do amal. They don't want to change their deeds. Or do they have the treasures of your Rabb with them? Or have they acquired control over them? Now, these are many questions that Quran is just giving open questions to, you resolve these problems, answer these questions, use your brain and answer it to your own self. Or have they a stairway to the heavens by means of which they listen? If so, let their listener bring a clear proof. You are rejecting this kalam. Why? Why are you rejecting? Do people have proof? How can anyone reject without any proof? That's what Quran is saying. Be logical. How can you reject without any proof? Is it that he has daughters and you have sons? Now, this is a kind of a false notion that the mushrik had. Firstly, they didn't like female, and that's a problem with them. They didn't like female. And then they said the angels were the daughters of Allah. Or is it that you ask them for a reward and therefore they are overburdened by a liability? Quran says, look, you have nothing to lose in hearing the Quran. You have nothing to lose except the time that you will spend. Or have they the knowledge of the unseen and they are recording it? When people know that they do not have knowledge of the unseen, we all know we don't have the knowledge of it. Then accept what the Prophet is saying. It's what you call in English confirmation by elimination. Or do they intend a harmful plot? Then the disbelievers themselves shall be harmed by the plan. They are just planning and plotting against truth, and they will not be successful. Or do they have any God other than Allah? Pure is Allah from what they associate. This is what Allah wants to drive people to. When experiment ends, you reach to the right conclusion. There is no God but God. That's the kalma. There is no God but God. Existence of false God is completely negated. Even if they see a piece falling down from the sky, they would say, heaped up clouds. People are so rigid in their ways, right? Rigid in their thinking, that even if they see an approaching azab, they will still not bring iman. So leave them alone until they face their day in which they will be turned unconscious. The day they are planning will not benefit them in the least, nor will they be helped. And for those who did wrong, there is another punishment before that, but most of them do not know. So in this world, kuffar are subjected to troubles and difficulties, and in the hereafter, the azab is going to be much worse. So wait patiently for the command of your Rabb, for surely you are before our eyes. And proclaim the purity of your Rabb along with His praise when you rise. And this is a kind of a final message that is given, being given over here to the patient. وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحُ وَإِدْبَارَ النُّجُومِ, and the part of the night too, proclaim His purity and at the time of the setting of the star. So this is, Surah Tur ends over here. Say prayers at night when the star turns back, when the daylight approaches, the stars vanish. That's the time of prayer. And this ayah, it ends up with the word, what's the last word? وَإِدْبَارَ النُّجُومِ, the setting of the star. And we begin the next surah. And the next surah is Surah Najm, and Najm means a star. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى, by the star when it falls. Now here, if you look at by the star when it falls, the commentators who have looked at this ayah, they say this is referring to the North Star. Some say that it's referring to all star. What it is really signifying is that people who have a belief in the powers of stars. People make horoscope and everything. They think stars have some influence on us. What Quran is saying, what is going to set? The stars will set itself. The stars will fall. What itself, it cannot have power to influence anyone else. Stars cannot help themselves. How can they influence people? How can they bring fortune or misfortune on anyone else? Ma dhalla sahibukum wa ma ghawa. Your companion is neither astray nor misled. Now, interestingly, it's not said the Prophet is misled. It's not said the Prophet is, but your companion, a very polite manner, reminding people of Makkah that Muhammad ﷺ is not a stranger for you. How can you accuse him of all this? He has spent 40 years of his life with you, in your company. You are well aware of his character. You are well aware of his morals. You know very well that he is not a majnoon. He is not a soothsayer. You know very well. He does not speak out of desire. That the Prophet, when he speaks of guidance. He does not talk of his own wish. It is a kalam of Allah. He speaks what the wahi is revealed to him. It is none but a revelation that is revealed. It is taught to him by the one mighty in power. Taught to him by whom? By Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam, who brought the wahi, mighty and powerful. The one of vigor. So he stood poised while he was on the upper horizon. The zikr of time when our Prophet ﷺ saw Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam in his original angelic form, and that must have been an extraordinary sight. Then he drew near and came down. So Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam, without leaving his position, came close to our Prophet. So as he was at a distance like that of two bows or nearer, thus he revealed to his slave what he revealed. That is what Allah revealed through Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam and sent his wahi. The heart in no way falsified what he saw. This is not a figment of imagination. This is not deception, but he actually saw Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam. Do you dispute with him concerning what he sees? This is the chain of wahi. The chain of wahi has two messengers, the angelic prophet, which is Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam, to a human prophet, which is our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And verily he saw him at another descent near Sidratul Muntaha, referring to the occasion of Miraj, when our Prophet saw Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam for the second time in his angelic form near a tree, a lot tree. It's a special kind of a tree that is there, which was in paradise, and there he saw Hazrat Jibreel, near which there is a garden of a board, where the lot tree was covered by that which covered it. So some tajalli, the tajalli of Allah upon that tree, which is quite kind of indescribable because our words have limitation. The sight did not turn aside, nor did exceed the limit. So our Prophet ﷺ with great courage saw what he saw, but that also did not exceed the limit. Surely he saw of the greatest signs of his Rabb. Have you ever considered about the idols of Lat and Uzza? Lat, Uzza, Manat, these are names of gods and goddesses which were kept in Makkah. And about the third Manat, is it that you have males and he has females? If so, it is a bizarre division. These are nothing but names you and your fathers have invented. Allah has sent down no authority attached to them. They are following nothing but conjectures and what their own souls desire, while guidance from your Rabb has surely reached them. Every man-made religion is based on some self-created names who have no existence. Is it that man can get whatever he wishes? Only with desires, man can get nothing. Every wish has a price tag attached to it. The higher the wish, the more the effort required. Just wishing to go to paradise will not lead people to paradise. He needs to work. For Allah is the hereafter and the former, which means do dua for both hereafter and the dunya. Then put the best effort. Right intention and effort, that's needed. Dua and effort, these are both. Then results will be achieved. How many angels there are in the heavens whose intercession cannot benefit at all, but after Allah allows it for whomsoever He pleases. So Allah has full knowledge. He is Kulli Shay'in Alim. He is the possessor of all knowledge, and none can add to His knowledge. And that's what we see, that intercession to add knowledge to Allah is useless. But we also learn from Quran and Hadith that there are certain shifats that will be acceptable, and that's the shifat of a shaheed. They will do intercession if people qualify, but that's if people qualify for the shafat, it will be accepted for whom Allah pleases. Indeed, those who do not believe in the hereafter call the angels by female names, and they have no knowledge about it. They follow nothing but conjecture, and conjecture is of no avail in the matter of truth. So turn away from him who turns away from our reminder, and seek nothing but the worldly life. That is their limit of knowledge. Indeed, your Rabb knows well about the one who has gone astray from the path, and he knows well the one who has adopted the right path. So here what we note is that since people have detached themselves from Allah, preferring the creation over the creator, so Allah is also la ta'alluq with them. He's indifferent. He's just kind of ignoring them. To Allah belongs whatever there is in the heavens and whatever there is in the earth. So he gives punishment to the evil doers for what they did, and gives good reward to those who do good with the best. Those who abstain from major sins and from shameful acts except minor involvement, indeed your Rabb is extensive in forgiveness. He knows you best when he created you from the earth and when you were in the embryo of the wombs of your mothers. So do not claim purity for yourself. He knows best who is God-fearing. So this self-righteousness, the concept of self-righteousness being negated over here. So here, if you see the first part of this, demand is not that we become 100% pure. We become like angels. It's not possible. People are human beings that despite all efforts, occasionally they will make mistake, occasionally they will sin. Not that they plan and sin, but sometimes people do slip here and there. Sometimes it's unintentional, and this is what is being highlighted over here, is that those who save themselves from major sins, kabira guna, that's what it is, and those are guna that are prohibited in the Quran and Hadith, like being a false witness, like eating mal of a yatim, like nafarmani of parents, magic, killing of offsprings, believing in the fortune tellers. All these are kabira guna. Did you see the one who turned away and gave a little, then withheld? So Quran here referring to a group of men who came to Islam, and then for some reason they stopped. Does he have knowledge of the unseen whereby he sees? He is not being told of what was revealed in the scriptures of Moses and of Ibrahim who fulfilled. It was that no bearer of burden shall bear the burden of other. Every man will bear his own responsibility, and Quran repeatedly reminds us of that. And there is nothing for man except what he strives for, and that his effort will soon be seen. Then he will be recompensed for it in full. Allah will see how much effort people put in. The more effort, the higher the reward. And that to your Rabb is the final end. This Aqidah, this firm belief that one has to finally return to Allah, makes man steadfast on Neki, and Deen becomes a top priority. And that he is the one who makes one laugh and makes him weep. People are apprehensive of following or implementing this Deen, thinking that it will increase their problems and worries in their lives. Allah and Quran makes very clear over here, make Allah razi. It is He who gives happiness, it is He who gives laughter. The sorrows and tears are all from Allah. These treasures of happiness are only with Him. And that He is the one who gives death and gives life. It is Allah who gives shafa. Hence, with dua is also necessary. With medicine, prayer is also necessary. Because the same medicine will cure one person and the same medicine can kill another person. And it is He who created in pairs, male and female, from the sperm when it is lodged. At the time of the revelation, the prevalent belief was that the male and female was due to a woman. She has a problem if she's the one. Allah absolves women over here. A son or a daughter is not from her, but it is dependent on the seed from the father's side. And that the second creation is undertaken by Him. So in the worldly trial and test, sometimes people go through difficulties and sometimes through nemat. This world is not a place of punishment or a reward, it's just a place of test. And that He is the one who gives wealth and preserves it. It is Allah who has unlimited treasures. And to Him, and some people He gives unlimited amount, and others he makes them muhtaj. And that he is the one who is the Rabb of the Cyrus. This Shira, the word that is used over here, is the name of a star. Mushriks would regard this to be a Mubarak star, and they, or then the trading activities would be associated with this stars. Quran says stars are just a sign that people should become obedient to the Creator, like stars themselves are obedient to their own Creator. And indeed, he is the one who destroyed the earlier Ad and the Samud, so spared no one. And the people of Nuh before, surely they were unjust and most rebellious. And upturned towns he smashed it. So be it Ad, be it Samud, be it people of Nuh, none was spared. So why would it be different for anyone else? So it covered it which covered. Then which of your Rabb's blessing will you doubt? This is a warner from earlier warners. This ever approaching is drawing near. None besides Allah can unveil it. Do you then wonder at this discourse and laugh at it and not weep? Instead of preparing, people are making fun of Qiyamah about such a serious issue. Rather, you are oblivious. Fasjudu lillahi wa'budu. So prostrate for Allah. Do ibadat of Allah. Do sajda of Allah. This is ayat sajda, so please do a sajda. So we begin with Surah Qamar, which is a Makkan surah, 6th year of Nabuwat, before our Prophet migrated, and the events of Shaqqatul Qamar described, the splitting of the moon described over here. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Iqtarabatis sa'atu wan shaqqal qamar, and the hour draw near, and the moon has split. The Qiyamah has come and the moon has split. And if they see a sign, they turn away and say, this is an ongoing magic. And they rejected and followed their desires, and every affair has an appointed time. The point is that people may observe any sign, they may observe any miracle, they may witness it, yet they will deny, like they denied the Qiyamah. And definitely there came to them the news containing ample remand, containing a perfect wisdom, but the warning is of no avail to them. History is a witness. Witness the ruins of the destroyed nation. Therefore turn aside from them, the day in which the callers will call them to a gruesome thing. It's fine if you have passed your message, if you have knocked their doors of their hearts, if you have warned them. If they don't pay heed, then this day will soon come. With their eyes humbled, they will come out of their graves like scattered locusts, hastening towards the caller, the disbelievers saying, this is a tough day. The people of Nuh denied before them, so they rejected our servants and called him mad, and he was scolded. So he prayed to his Rabb, saying, I am overpowered, so avenge. So we opened the doors of the sky with water pouring forth profusely, and we split the earth two as springs when the water gathered together on a matter already decreed. And we carried him on that consisting of planks and nails, which sailed under our eyes as a reward for the one who rejected. And certainly we left it as a sign. So is there anyone to take a lesson? Then how was my torment and my warning? وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. And indeed, we have made the Quran easy for counsel. So is there anyone who takes advice? Take nasiyat from the Quran. Quran has been made easy. It's a reminder. What amal will make Allah razi? What will displease Him? What is the purpose of life? Ad rejected. So how was my torment and my warning? Surely we did send to them a furious wind in a day of continuous misfortune. So Ad were destroyed by a strong wind which blew 7 nights and 8 days, entire nation converted into dust, plucking people away as if they were trunks of uprooted palm tree. So how was my torment and my warning? Indeed, we have made Quran easy for counsel. So is there anyone to take advice? This ayat is repeated 4 times in this Surah Qamar. It's just to draw our attention. And people of Samud denied the warners. So they said, shall we follow a single human being from among us? Then we will be in error and insanity. Now, frequently and common objection that people have is, he's a man like us. The messenger, the prophet is a man like us. How can he be a Rasul? Is it that the advice has been cast upon him alone out of all of us? No, he is a bragging liar. Tomorrow they will know who a bragging liar is. We are going to send the she-camel as a trial for them. So watch them and be patient. And tell them that the water is to be shared between them so as the turn for having water is determined. Then they called their companion, so he undertook the task, then killed. So how was my punishment and my warning? Surely we sent to them a single cry, and they were crushed hedge of a hedge builder. Indeed, we have made Quran easy for seeking advice. So is there one to take heed to the advice? Now, this ayah, Surah Qamar, has very difficult words in this surah. But Quran keeps reminding us, we have made Quran easy. Why? Difficult word, but maybe the words are difficult, but the message is simple. The warnings are open and clear. The laws are simple, since they are part of human nature. And the people of Lut rejected the warners. We sent upon them storms of stone, except the family of Lut, whom we saved in the small hours of the morning. As a grace from us, this is how we reward the one who offers gratitude. So the nijat of people is because they do shukr, the shukr of the ne'mats of Allah. And He had certainly warned them of our grasp, but they disputed the warning. And they had even tried to tempt Him against His guest, but we blinded their eyes. So taste my punishment and my warning. And certainly on the next morning, a lasting punishment overtook them. So taste my punishment and my warning. And indeed we have made Quran easy for seeking advice. So is there one who takes heed to the advice? And the warners came to the family of Pharaoh, but they rejected all our signs. So we seized them a seizure of the one mighty, powerful. Are your disbelievers better than those? Or is there an exemption for you in the scripture? Or do they say, we are an avenging group? Soon the groups shall be routed, and all of them will turn their backs. Rather, the hour is appointed time, and the hour is more grievous and bitter. So some azab Allah will give in this dunya, but the real azab in the hereafter, which is very bitter and very agonizing. Surely the guilty ones are in error and madness on the day when they will be dragged into the fire on their faces. Taste the touch of hell. Verily, we have created everything according to a measure, and our command is nothing but a single act like the blink of an eye. And verily, we have destroyed people like you. So is there one to take counsel? And everything they have done is recorded in the scripture, and every small and every big is written down. Surely the God-fearing will be in the gardens and rivers. في مقعد صدق عند مليك مقتدر, and the seat of truth near the most powerful king. So who is this most powerful king? The seat في مقعد صدق عند مليك مقتدر, the seat of truth near the most powerful. Who is the most powerful king? And we begin with Surah Rahman. Ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahman, the most powerful. This is the most powerful. This is the most important name of Allah. The most important name of Allah is Ar-Rahman. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ar-Rahman, the Rahman, the most merciful. Rahman is the most merciful. And how does the mercy of Allah, how does that mercy manifest itself? How is the mercy of Allah manifest? Allama al-Quran. He taught the Quran. Allah taught. It is He who taught Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam, and then Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam to the Prophet, and through him to the entire Muslim Ummah. This is the rahmat. This teaching of Quran is the greatest rahmat. Because this is a Quran which unites the creation with the Creator. The meanings of attaining His rahmat is only through the Quran. If you want the rahmat of Allah, it is only through the Quran. Khalaqal insan, He created man. Allamahul bayan, and He taught him how to express. The power of speech, the highest and the most evolved part of our brain, is the center of our speech. This differentiates man from all other species. The sun and the moon are bound by a fixed calculation, everything following a path, everything follows a way. And the vines and the tree both bow down. He raised the sky high and set the balance. Therefore, do not transgress regarding the balance. There is a balance in this universe. Then there is a balance in rights and responsibility. For peace and harmony, this balance is necessary. Justice is necessary. When the balance is tempered, it will create chaos and confusion. And establish weight with equity and do not shortchange the weight. And for the earth he has placed in it all creatures, in which there are fruits and date palm having coverings, and the grains having chaff, and fragrant flowers. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. And which of the bounties of your Rabb will you deny? This ayat also gets repeated often. He has created man from the dry clay, ringing like pottery. So Quran and science agree over here that man is created out of clay, and created jinn from smokeless flame of fire. So which of the bounties of your Rabb will both of you deny? The Rabb of two easts and the Rabb of two wests. So which of the bounties of your Rabb will both of you deny? He let forth the two seas to meet together. Between them is a barrier. They do not encroach upon one another. So which of the bounties of your Rabb will both of you deny? From both of them come forth pearls and corals. So which of the bounties of your Rabb will both of you deny? And his are the sailing ships raised up in the sky, raised up in the sea like mountains. So which of the bounties of your Rabb will you deny? So really we're going to stop over here. This is the last ayat. We've completed half of this para 27. We witness all these miracles, right? We witness these miracles are there in front of our eyes. We are familiar with the physical laws. But who created these laws? That's what we need to focus on. Who made this law of gravity? Who made this law that will allow the ships to float on the water? And all the laws that are there in this universe. There has to be a creator. So with this we stop. So barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quranil Azim wa nafana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim.